I'm Ruan, I'm an alcoholic.
Ruan.
Yeah, fear hidden by confidence. I think I might be having a fucking heart attack right now. Anyway, yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm quite grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share whatever I have with you guys, and I'm grateful for the fear I sit in right now. But something that I found is my relationship with God. My relationship is at its strongest when I experience things like this, when I experience fear, when I experience difficulty, when I experience things in my recovery. My reliance on God is at its strongest. And I think it's for that I still sit here today, because I have massive fear of going back to where I came from, and I have massive fear of losing the special life I've been given in recovery. And that life is only because of my relationship that I have with God today. You know, that relationship is given. It's not achieved. This life is given. It's not achieved. Anyway, I'll start where I normally start, which is the beginning. A good place to start. A very cuck starting at the end. I used to share a lot, and I only share it because it was my experience. My first few years in recovery, I wish for milestones, I used to share that. I didn't really feel different. I didn't really feel separate. I didn't feel apart from like people normally share. But then as I've grown in recovery and as I've spent some time in the rooms, my experience around what is not okay and what is different has changed. So I can honestly say to you today that if I look at my life growing up as a child, I was not okay. I look at my behavior around how I dealt with situations. I look at my behavior around how I thought life should be towards me. Things weren't all right. The way I treated everything, the way I went about things weren't always right. Which I come to learn today is a spiritual emptiness. The spiritual emptiness I try to fill with anything. Something I try to fill myself with anything that just kind of would make me feel all right. Whether that be attention, whether that be affirmation from people, whether it be anything. So anyway, I look at where it started for me is when I was born in Joburg, but we moved down when I was young. We moved down to East London in grade, I think I was in grade 5. I don't know what standard that is for you older people. But it was grade 5, and I remember starting in this new school, and where instead of trying to kind of make myself part of everyone, trying to make friends, trying to do what any other child would do, is I would, obviously filled in fear, I would persuade this kind of thing of angry, don't mess with me. It's quite weird, but that's how I dealt with it, by kind of pushing people away because I don't feel part of. So covering all of that stuff with the anger and resentful kind of shit. But where that stuff kind of quickly went was when I started getting the attention and stuff from sports, when I started getting the attention from girls. Yeah, that's kind of where I had to seek for things, was I definitely weren't getting it with any good grades. So I got everything I needed from external circumstances. I kind of felt okay with having lots of friends. I kind of felt okay when being surrounded by lots of friends. I didn't feel okay when I just had to be by myself, when I had to do my own thing, when I had to do homework, when I had to carry on like a normal kid. I didn't really feel okay. But then as well, I look at pushing a bit forward, moving in 2010, moving from East London back to Johannesburg. All that stuff I went about that stuff the same way because I didn't know different. I didn't know, for me, that type of shit was normal. And that's why I think for such a long time in my recovery, I wasn't really able to identify it properly, is because that was normal to me, to the point where I couldn't see it until spending time in the room and gaining some type of experience in it. Anyway, moving back to Johannesburg in grade 10 or 2010, I went through the same shit, I went through the same anger, the same stuff, and then again finding some type of part of in the attention I got from sports. Because I was quite fortunate, the school I came from, East London, was a very good or big school, sports school, so all my information around the rugby I played, because I played provincial rugby for 2 years, I was provincial athlete in athletics, and all my information was sent forward to the school, so I kind of walked into the school, everyone knowing I was coming, which was quite great for my ego. But still not feeling part of until I started getting that attention, that affirmation. Around that same time, I met a girl. It was my first serious relationship. Her name was, what was her name? Her name was Adele. And it was very good for me. She was the first team hockey captain. She was going to become the, I think, deputy head girl at school, so also yet again very good for me. Because the way it made me look was quite grandiose. Anyway, me and Adele dated for a good few years, but then also what happened for me in that relationship, on our I think it was one of our first dates, on the way there I got into a motorbike accident, and I got fucked up properly. I ended up in hospital for a long time, ended up spending, I think, a good part of 6 months in a wheelchair, and everything around that made me feel alright was gone. The sports was gone, the affirmation was gone, the tension was gone. And I had to sit, and I sat with this hole. And I sat with this hole in me that now what I was used to filling it with, I had none of that. And that's where the first time really, I had drunk in the past. I drank in the past before, and also yet again quite excessively, but to no harm to myself or anyone around me. Because that for me, that was a big part of it. It was not necessarily the drinking in itself, but what came from it. You know, the damage, the mess that comes from when I drink to fill that hole. And at that time, there was none of that. I was drinking quite excessively, but nothing much, until that point after the accident, where that hole was empty. And I found that with alcohol, with street drugs, I would fill this hole. I would fill, and it would make me alright, make me feel alright. And slowly things started to get bad. I eventually dropped out of school. Eventually, Adele and myself, I think it was after two and some years, broke up. And my world, as I knew it, started spinning out of control. Because that's also something that I'm quite grateful for. I came into recovery when I was quite young. I started drinking and using quite excessively at the age of 18, and my madness and unmanageability to the point where I reached rock bottom only lasted 4 years. It only took 4 years for me to reach that point where I couldn't go anymore, where I couldn't carry on anymore. And I'm you know, regardless of the pain and everything that happened, I'm extremely grateful for that. Anyway, so that was around about 2010. I started drinking. Adele and myself broke up. Or I drank excessively, started using street drugs. Adele and myself broke up. And I started isolating myself and withdrawing myself from people that used to be good friends. Because I don't even know really why. But my life totally got unmanageable very quickly. So I jumped forward to about December 2013. I went into my first treatment center. I don't think it was my first. I'd been in a few psychiatric hospitals before, because there were also a few suicide attempts in there, trying to escape. not exactly. I don't know how you would really say it. It's not a suicide attempt if you're trying to run away, if you're trying to look for attention. It's kind of, yeah, that's all it is. It's not a suicide attempt. It's a shout for attention, basically, and that's all that was. So anyway, went to a few psych wards, and then went into my first treatment center, December 2013. I honestly didn't want to be there. My mom actually took me. I actually just came out of a psych ward, and my mom took me there and said, "Listen, we just go check this place out. We see what it's about." And she left me there. Only later to find out they took me there so they could go on holiday. Okay, obviously because I've had a fucking problem, but so they could get me in a safe place so they could comfortably go away on holiday. They went to the Kruger Park. Because if they had left me at home, they knew they would come home to wreckage and they would not have a holiday. They would not be able to rest and relax. Anyway, so booking me left me at the treatment centre up in Johannesburg. And for about the first 3 days, like I said, I didn't really want to be there. So I didn't have a fucking problem. So for about the first 3 days, and then along came a new girl got admitted. Her name was Elaine, and I very much wanted to get well then. As soon as she booked in, I was ready to recover. So I spent 28 days. 28 days in treatment because that's all I need. And me and Elaine would recover together. Me and Elaine and her husband. So I actually stayed sober for 3 months in this relationship, if you want to call it. Until the point where I actually went to go live with Elaine and her husband. They stayed in Secunda. I went there. I went to go stay there for 2 weeks as the gay friend. Yeah. Anyway, that kind of blew up within that 2 weeks. It just fucking blew up. I ran out of the house exposing everything to Elaine, to her husband. I actually also last year found out that Elaine and her husband aren't together anymore, whether I had a part to play in that or not. It's quite a difficult thing. Anyway, so ended up fucking running out of the house. Now it's me, my bag, heartbroken in the middle of Secunda. If anyone knows where Secunda is, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. So I ended up in Secunda. I found yet again, because now the hole in my soul is empty again. Elaine broke my heart, and I found what fixed me again. I went on a bender, and within a few weeks, I was back in treatment. So that was. So I did 2013, December 2013 till September 2014, I did 5 treatment centers. Less than a year, I did 5 treatment centers. My progression got worse. I was in and out of treatment centers. I got kicked out of treatment centers. I'm the alcoholic that book speaks about. I'm the alcoholic that book speaks about. I cannot stop, and when I want to stop, what does it say? It says, I cannot stay stopped, and when I want to stop, I can't, or something along those lines. But I cannot live and function normally without the use of alcohol or any other substance, any other thing, trying to make myself feel better, to the point where that hole is unfillable. And that made very, very clear to me through one example. Actually, I was showing, a while ago, I did some big book study with a very good friend of mine next to me. And we went through it and this and that, and it just kind of became so clear to me. With one example I have is of, yet again, in a treatment center, because that's where I end up. That's where I couldn't, that's where I was at that point. Anyway, in a treatment center, I made a friend in the treatment center. We get a weekend pass together. We're not supposed to have a weekend pass together, but anyway, we hooked up and we went out the Friday night. So in my head, alcohol is not the problem. I've got drugs might be a little bit of a problem, so don't use drugs. So we're going out for a beer. I have one beer and I pick up. Then we say to myself, no. We're only going to use tonight. That's the Friday. Tomorrow we're going to stop. We're going to drink a lot of water. We're going to drink, what's those charcoal tablets? Get it out. So when we go back to the treatment center, I'll test positive and I'm fine. I used up until I got to the treatment center. I was incapable of stopping using. Anyway, so that brings me to my last treatment center. Seabirds. Oh, ooh, sorry. I went to my last treatment center in 2014, September 2014. I can't say that I necessarily came to get better, but what I did come for was to stop feeling the way I was, to stop feeling that emptiness. I needed something. I couldn't. It was at that point as well, the stuff I was using wasn't working anymore. It was making me ill. It was making me sick. I remember getting picked up at the airport by the treatment center. It was these two old oaks and a Portuguese boy. I actually phoned my mom at the airport. I was like still, we baggage collection, and I checked outside and I saw those at the board. So I phoned my mom and said, I don't think I'm going to the right place. Anyway, so the last time I used was at that airport. I got on the bus on the way to the treatment center, and I remember I was physically not well. I was physically getting sick. The drugs were doing, the substances were doing the opposite of what they were supposed to. Instead of making me feel better, I was getting physically ill, and spiritually I was fucked. Anyway, I remember we stopped at the petrol station on the way up, and I remember running to the bathroom because I started getting ill. And I remember getting sick and turning around, and this little Portuguese boy was standing there with a lappie, a piece of toilet paper and a sweet. And I remember connecting to that later on, where this guy doesn't know me from a bar of soap. I had been ignoring him because could he talk? I had been ignoring him the whole bus trip, being a proper doers to this oak. And there he was trying to care for me, regardless of the way I was treating him, regardless that he didn't know me, but he cared for me. He took enough out of his time just to give me time and care for me. And I connected with that stuff later on. But anyway, so I get to the treatment center, and like I said, I don't think I went there to stop using, but I went there because I was tired. I was tired of feeling the way I was feeling. And what I found was something quite special, is that the people at that treatment center, people working at the treatment center, the people that were at the treatment center, firstly, didn't look like the type of drug addicts that I knew from previous treatment centers. They looked well. They had something. The people at work, they were able to live a life without drugs, without alcohol, and without being in a mess. So I at that time, saw something that I liked. Anyway, I stuck around. I got to about 8 months. 8 months in this treatment center. I stayed there for about 8 months, and I was allowed to leave, go out, look for work. Also, I started helping Ashley. I took her down to go do her learners, driving lessons and stuff. So one day going down, I took her to do her thing, and I went into the mall, and there was this one coffee shop there. Sorry, I always share it, but it's kind of a big part of my journey. And I walked past this coffee shop on the way to Pick and Pay, and there's this girl there, I kind of just stopped in my tracks, like a proper movie moment. It was this dark-haired, tattooed girl, like my type of girl. You know, looks like she comes out of prison. And so anyway, so I go down a halfway house. I get the guys together. You know, I'm going to take the guys. We're going to go for something to eat at this coffee shop because I'm of service. You know, I do service, so I'm going to take the boys to this coffee shop. Anyway, we get there, and I shit myself. I barely even look in her direction. I couldn't even look her in the eyes. But my God has a plan. My God has a sense of humor. This chick comes to me and gives me her number without me saying anything. Anyway, so we get in the car, tell the guys, look, I'm in recovery. I took the number. I threw it out the window because I'm in recovery. Oh, man. After I put it in my phone, no one. So anyway, this carried on. So, and I tell you, what came from that was something amazing. Not amazing relationship, but amazing pain. Because the dishonesty, the selfishness, the sickness that surrounded that small situation just exploded. A month later, I came out of treatment. I don't know, not too long after I came out of treatment, went to the halfway house. So now I had more free time, able to see this girl. I took her on dates to Margate, because there no one knows us. I can't get caught in Margate. I lasted a month with no drinking, no using, with dishonesty, selfishness, manipulation, lying to the people in my life. I lasted a month and I was finished. My disease was in full-fledged and I had no solution. I got the opportunity to have the option to either go on with this girl or go back to treatment, because obviously my sponsor could see what was going on. He called me up and he gave me this choice. I chose to go back to treatment. I ended up going back to treatment about 8-9 months sober, worse than when I came in there the first time. I went back sober, worse, only on behavior. My journey still didn't get better. I don't know how much. Journey there still didn't get better. I still acted out. I was getting concerned hard. You try getting exposed for hitting on visitors' sisters, concerned you. It's not fucking pretty. And so I got exposed, I got concerned, and I was not getting better. Eventually it got to a point, I wrote in my step 11, I was blaming everyone, I was not taking responsibility. Put it in that little bookie, and guys, the counselors read those little bookies. Okay. By breakfast time, I got called into the office, and I got handed my reality by my old sponsor and my current sponsor. And I got given it. and something special happened, where for the first time in my life, I took responsibility for my behavior. That drugs isn't the problem, that alcohol isn't the problem, that it's me. That Ruan is the problem. Ruan without a solution in this program and in God is the problem. Anyway, so it was quite cool, because in that same time I got, when I went back to treatment, there was a lot of consequences. I lost my work, I lost my car blew, the motor blew, I lost studies. Within an hour of that episode, I had gotten my car back from the mechanic. My job was offered back to me, and I got my life carried on within an hour. Anyway, so I spent about 14, 15 months in treatment. Some of us sicker than most. It's also a big thing as well, like I said earlier, is that I'm quite grateful for when I came into recovery. I was 22. I came into treatment this last time, I was 22. And I got given the opportunity through staying in the program, staying in recovery, and growing in recovery, to grow up. Get taught by my sponsor. Get taught what it is to grow up and what it is to be a man. And to live life like a normal, well, not like a normal person, but live a life outside. Anyway, so leaving treatment, I moved into my first place with a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, Donovan. Yeah, we stayed there for about 6 months. In this time as well, I got offered a job, a new job, splendorous job, lovely job, and I lasted about 3 months and I got fired because of my own arrogance, my own grandiosity, and they had me build a structure without drawings and it fell over. And it was a lesson hard learned, and I got fired. But then again, having been around for a while, what I did with that was not run away, was not drink, was not use, was reach out. I phoned my sponsors, and I kind of tried and I worked the program to the best of my ability. And within, you guys, that was a Saturday. Sorry, I'm just trying to, you don't believe in God, just fucking listen. That was the Saturday I got fired. I reached out, I worked the program. Within a half an hour, I got offered a job to start on Monday. Now, regardless of what's happened in my recovery, if I work a program and I do what I need to do, I am looked after. So I carried on. That also in that time, I met another girl and did it honestly. I did it honestly. I worked closely with my sponsor with it, and 4 years later, working a program around and in a relationship, working a program, 4 years later, I'm married. I got married to her this year. You know, that job I got offered, I'm still working that same job. You know, through practicing these principles in all my affairs, taking what I've learned in this program out into the world, I'm able to live a life greater than what I ever expected. Because this life I've been given is far, 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 far better than anything I could have even imagined. And then me trying to create a life like that on my own is impossible. I could not leave home to give out CVs. I could literally not leave home to go give out CVs. When I was inactive, when I was left to my own, when I was trying to run life on my own, I could not leave the house to give out CVs. So I've worked in the same company for over 3 years. I'm senior management in the company. I've gotten married. And I have a relationship with people in my life today. Because that's the one thing this program has taught me, and what I've learned in the treatment center, when they tell you that forget about self, your life is none of your business, That is true. With my life, I have a responsibility towards others today. Not necessarily just Alex. I have a responsibility towards my partner, towards friends, towards employees. I have a responsibility towards them. My life is lived not for just myself, or how can I best assist anyone. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons I am where I am still today, that I am still sitting here sober. My life is not only lived for myself today, this gift I've been given is lived for people around me and the people I share this life with. Because my life has grown. My life has grown. This little bubble I had that resolved in self-inactive was extremely small. It was just Ruan. Coming into recovery, staying in recovery, working a program, and growing a relationship with God through this program. Because that's a gift that this program gives me. Is not an amazing lie. This program gives me the gift to get out of the way enough, remove self enough to the point where God can step in and create a life for me and the people around me. Yeah, guys, we're getting a bit carried away and we're running out of time. So that's me. Thank you for letting me share.